Hi class, Mr. Cardinal here with section 2 from chapter 12, Equal Ratios and Proportions. Yesterday for 12.1, we learned a little bit about ratios. To review what a ratio is, the definition means it's a relationship where for every x units of one quantity, there are y units of another quantity. There are three different ways of writing a ratio. The first way is simply x to y. And again, a ratio is comparing two things. Another way of writing it is by having x with a colon to y. And the last is as a fraction, x over y. Now mathematically speaking, fractions and ratios are the same thing. They're both considered a division problem, x divided by y. They are only different in how we use them in the real world. For example, 1/2 is typically thought of as one number. Okay, it's thought of as a fraction, as one number, such as 1/2 of a sub sandwich. As a ratio, however, the numerator and the denominator need to be thought of as two separate things. For example, for the fraction 12/15, 12 being the number of, say, girls in the class versus 15 being the number of boys in a class. So today, for section 2, learning about equal ratios and proportions, the objective is to find equal ratios and determine if two ratios form what is considered a proportion. And a proportion is an equation that shows one ratio equal to another ratio. So equal ratios, like equivalent fractions, can be generated by multiplying or dividing both terms by the same non-zero number. So to begin, if we have a fraction such as 2/3, an equivalent fraction would mean that we would just multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number. So for example, if we multiplied both the numerator and denominator by 2, we have 4/6. The same holds true for a ratio. So 2/3, or the ratio 2:3, is the same as 4:6. And again, as I mentioned before, it can be written in several different ways. So 2:3 as 4:6. Or 2:3, 4:6. So to understand this a little bit clearer, let's take a look at the examples in the book. Equal ratios and proportions. How can you find equal ratios? The ratio of the number of basketball players to the number of baseball players at Grove School is 16:48. One way to write the terms of this ratio is as the fraction 16/48. You can use what you know about fractions and equivalent fractions to find equal ratios and to write a ratio in simplest form. First of all, they give us a nice little picture. So one way of solving it is again to use multiplication. Multiply both terms by the same non-zero number. For example, if we multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 3, we have 48 over 144. So 18/40ths and 48 144ths are equal ratios. A mathematical statement that two ratios are equal, as I mentioned, is called a proportion. So 16:48 is equal to 48 144. Those are what we would call a proportion. Another way of thinking of finding equal ratio is using division. Divide both terms by the same non-zero number. So for example, with 16 and 48, 2 goes into both of them. So our new fraction or ratio is 8/24. You can divide the terms by their GCF, greatest common factor, to write the ratio in simplest form. So 16 divided by 16 equals 1, 48 divided by 16 equals 3. So 16/48, 8/24, and 1/3 are all considered equal ratios. Thank you for listening. Make sure that you complete the problems on the Google form, and make sure you come to class with any questions or comments. Thank you.